Yeah. Oh my vibe on your mind. Oh my throat on your mind. Him no make you happy. No. Him no make you feel like I do. They both turning my way. Yeah. I can feel you warming up to me. Oh, think I got a shot like a free throw. Ready to play the game with no cheat code. Girl, you took my heart like a repo. Oh, all these other girls not even close. Something's telling me that she knows. Oh, stuck in my mind, things I would do for you. Stuck in my mind, long nights thinking of you. Stuck in my mind. Oh my God, when you're stuck in my mind. Oh my throat on your mind. Did not see you last week. Told me you would make it up to me. Just wanted you closer, closer. Electric feel when you brush up on me. Oh, think I got a shot like a free throw. Ready to play the game with no cheat code. Girl, you took my heart like a repo. All these other girls not even close. Something's telling me that she knows. Oh, stuck in my mind, things I would do for you. Stuck in my mind, long nights thinking of you. Stuck in my mind. Oh my God, when you're stuck in my mind. Oh my throat on your mind. Stuck in my mind, things I would do for you. Stuck in my mind, long nights thinking of you. Stuck in my mind. Oh my God, when you're stuck in my mind. Oh my throat on your mind. Oh my vibe on your mind.
Morning guys, morning. How you doing? Let me know if my fan is okay. It's not too loud in the background. You can't hear my fan much, can you? It's all good, yeah? How's everyone's day? How you guys getting on? On your way to work, Anchor. Nice, nice, nice. So news, what do we have today? We have PPI news at 1:30 p.m. UK time, which we should probably see some volatility. If we have a quick look at what PPI did last time. Just give me a second. I'm just going to pin the Discord link to the channel. So AU, yeah, AU. I'm looking at AU. AU's a bit of a, you know, it's in that 4-hour supply zone, as we see here. You know, you could see price had this pull back into this region here, and then we're kind of retesting this with it being in a area of supply. You know, if we get some sort of like M15 rejection here, it would be an aggressive entry still because structure is not broken. You know, you could see if we look at the last internal swing low, we had this, and then we had the swing high. If we mark up our fib, price perfectly pulled back into it and started to push off. Now I'm preemptively marking this out as potentially we could see a higher high, higher low, lower high, and then see price pushing to the downside here, purely because we're in that higher time frame area of supply. So you can see I've just preemptively marked, there's the high, there was the pullback. We do have some built up of liquidity, we do have some areas of imbalance resting below here, but it's, you know, I would want to see some rejection, some decent rejection here. But you know, and again, I'm only kind of entertaining it because it's in the 4-hour supply zone. Otherwise, structure is still bullish. The pullback was complete over here, and price starting to push to the top side, so got to be careful. Gold reacted at supply zone. Yeah, gold did. So I basically had a limit order set here at the 50%, which got tagged, and then again, because it's an aggressive entry, you can see on a 15-minute we have this minor area of demand over here where price is kind of bouncing off and reacting to. So I went like a slightly higher lot size than my usual so I could secure some profits. So as price came down into here at like 30 pips, I took some profit off the table, and then I'll just let the rest be. You know, I would take some more off if price comes down to this area of demand, because we could absolutely get a reaction off of this coming down into here and still continuing higher. But if price is going to sell off down into this 1-hour demand zone that hasn't yet been mitigated, it should really happen from this point, because even on the 15-minute you could see price above is pretty efficient. There's no inefficiencies in price. This area of supply has pretty much been mitigated with these wicks into it, so there's nothing apart from this area here that should cause price to drive down. So again, you know, I secured some profits because I knew this was an aggressive entry. So if price decides to reverse back on me and stop me out, what I get stopped out here, I've already made over here. So theoretically, it becomes a risk-free trade. And the only reason I'm doing that is because, again, you know, we're kind of in the middle of structure. We haven't seen lower time frame shift yet, so price could absolutely still continue higher. But I understand this is the point where the likelihood of price selling off was going to come from. Like I said, if we continue bearish here, I'll probably take a fair chunk of my position off at this point here, because we have that area of demand. Yeah, it's definitely a higher risk trade, Anchor. Definitely. That's why I managed my position. That's why I secured some profits within this region. The safer trade on gold is definitely see what price does after news. You know, can we get a push back down into here and then see a shift, or is price going to come down and break this low? You know, so definitely waiting for that is going to be a better play. Now with the dollar, you can see on the 4-hour chart, you know, we had this high, we came down over here, created that lower high, created this lower low, this pullback. So we are in this descending channel to the downside here. Yeah, indeed. You know, there's no need to risk anything. There's always going to be opportunities. Be patient. You know, we have news. We have PPI. So if we look at the last set of PPI numbers, and just take gold as an example. So the last set of PPI numbers were on 11th of May. So if we go back to the 11th of May and see what, so we had core PPI was as expected, and PPI month on month missed by 0.1%. So if we go back to the 11th of May, and see what price actually did. Right, so here we go. So we could see at that point dollar was in a pullback, and we could perfectly see what time did the news come out. The news came out at 1:30. So we had our 1:30 candle, which kind of was a weak bullish candle, and then after that we pretty much sold off. And take that into account that PPI was pretty weak. So it'll be interesting to see what price does today. So we have PPI, and then after that we have FOMC at 7 p.m. Well, 7 p.m. for me anyway, UK time. So again, like we can see, and I think somebody on the stream yesterday was calling for AU buy sells, I think shorts, and I was like, you know, you want to be very, very careful. Now you can clearly see here, if you don't understand structure accurately, at this point the pullback was complete. So when price went here, it reacted to supply, but that was just a catalyst for a pullback to then eventually for price to continue higher. You know, so anyone just looking at, oh, here is supply, you know, I'm going to start, it's rejecting, so I'm going to start selling and price is going to head down. No, you can clearly see all that did was, that was a catalyst for a pullback. Now, again, I couldn't buy here when the pullback was complete yesterday. One, because we have all this inefficiency below, but two, we're in this higher time frame supply zone. So it doesn't make any logical sense for me to start buying into an extreme area of supply. You know, I have to wait for price to do one thing or the other. Let's see what else we have. AUD-CHF. What's happening with AUD-CHF? So we perfectly rejected off of that weekly zone and we're pushing up, which is good. Daily, you know, we're seeing a nice pop to the top side. Now I marked out this 4-hour supply zone as a pullback zone, so if we could get some sort of a pullback here leading into next week, I'll definitely be looking for buyers on this, because again, this is a weekly area of demand, so we should definitely see a big push to the top side from this point. And you can see from a weekly area we have an unmitigated area of supply resting over here. We have supply here, so even if we flip this on its head and we see the high to the low here, what can we see? We can see, even if price was to reverse, where's the logical point? It'll be from this point here. So we have unmitigated area of supply here, unmitigated area of supply here, with this huge level of imbalance. So we could definitely see some nice bullish momentum in the coming weeks, but again, just need a pullback in this. So if we look at this current low and say that's the high, say we get to the 50% retracement of the scan box, a pullback nicely into like 0.59600 for the next push to the top side seems like a nice area to target. What did you have before that? What is the capital you're using before on your demo? Are you using $100 account on your demo? Nah, you don't want to be using that. You know, you don't want to go crazy. Like, you know, sometimes people go like, oh, 200k, 400k, 500k, and just do like 50 lots and 10 lots and 20 lots and stuff like that. Now, you want to keep it realistic. You know, 10k is pretty good because, you know, even if you go for a funded account, 10k is pretty straightforward in my opinion. Nice. Gold is coming down. So if we get down to this region that I'm talking about, that would be a nice 62 pip trade, and that would be me taking, like, I would definitely at this point take like 70% off the table. So, and I won't move my stops to break even, because if price does come out and stop me out, then it's only some of the profits I'm giving back. But if price then continues pushing down, we've got a big range here for price to come down and mitigate this area of supply, demand, sorry. GU's in high time frame supply. Let's see what happens. What time frame supply are you looking at on GU? Yeah, absolutely, and that's the problem, Anko. You know, that's why like the prop firm industry has become so great once people have a system that works. Because if you think about it, say you have $100 account and you make $10, for argument's sake, that's 10% you've made, right? But people look at that and just see it as $10. They're not going to see it as 10%. So they just want to keep trading, and eventually you're just going to end up losing like that. Where, you know, if you have a bigger size account and you make 10%, it seems substantial. And that's why the reality of like people that try to flip smaller size accounts and stuff, it never works, because you're not seeing the percentage return, you're just looking at the monetary value. And you're just thinking, they're saying, what's $5? What's $10? But when you're making $5 or $10 off $100, that's pretty significant. But $5 or $10 isn't changing anyone's life. So it doesn't mean much for people. I was checking the 4H and 15 minute. So is the supply zone that you're looking at on the 4 hour? I don't really see an area of supply on the 4 hour, because you could see if I mark this candle here, price already wicked into this previously here, and we tapped into it and we've broken out of it. So realistically, in all fairness, there's nothing really stopping the pound creating a new high and taking this weak high out. Just gonna delete this for now. If we look at on a 15 minute, what do we see on a 15? Yeah, there's definitely an area of supply here on the M15, which you have over here. So we could see price, yeah, reacting to this. Yeah, so now if we look at this, we currently have this structure, we have this low and the current high that's being formed. Now this could act as a good area to pull back into this unmitigated area of demand. But what we want to see is at least some sort of 5-minute trend being formed. You know, we were having it over here. We did have higher, 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 low, higher, 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 low. But then we just had this. So we kind of need something like this to happen. And if we see a shift, then we could look to trade back down from this region, which is still pretty substantial coming back down here. It's over 100 pips. So this 15-minute could act as a good area of pullback. And that demand sits nicely within it if it approaches that 50%. You can see that there. So we have lots of liquidity and below here. We have like trend line liquidity. We have this area of imbalance here. And we have this perfect demand zone that sits within here. Nice. Gold, gold, gold. Let's go. Just gonna set an alert here to see if price does come down to this point. So what did we have on NZD CAD? So yeah, so NZD CAD, we were waiting for some sort of a pullback and a retracement, which we've just not had, but it's not to say we're not going to. So if we currently mark the low to the high, we have a nice area of demand. If this stays as the high, we have a nice area of demand just over here. Now we could definitely see a push to the top side from this point here. Remember, because we've had a daily breaker structure. Last daily break here, we have all of this inefficiency sitting above. So we could definitely see price heading back up to fill out that inefficiency and mitigate that area of supply. Which if we mark the highest point here to the low, that region sits nicely. So we could see price continuing up to like 0.84200 before the next push down. Now we do have AUD USD rejecting here as well. But again, it could just react from this 5-minute demand here. Now if we was to see a failure of this and a pullback, then even though it's still aggressive because structure hasn't shifted to the downside, but because we're in that high time frame supply zone, we could see price heading down. But again, we need a strong bearish closure here. Now you can see perfectly missed NZD CHF. Look at that. We had that 4-hour breaker structure to the top side. Price came to this extreme demand. We go down on the M15. We're creating lower lows, then we had this huge expansion. It's a bit cleaner on the hourly chart. So you can see we had this huge expansion to the top side. And then we kind of consolidate, and then we pulled back. So we already shifted bullish here again after the pullback. And then price perfectly came into this unmitigated demand zone and then started to rally off to the top side. So from this area, what have we pushed off? 116 pips. And again, TP1 would have nicely been this 56.400 region, which is like close to 150 pips. Oh well, you win some, you lose some, I guess. Oh, interesting. NZD JPY is in this high time frame supply zone. Now the only thing, I wouldn't be looking to take anything aggressive here because the 4-hour break here was pretty weak. It was a pretty weak break that we had. So I'd like to see some lower time frame rejection before potentially shorting this. And on the daily time frame, we can see another kind of scenario of like support turning into resistance, which you could see here. So we could definitely just see, because overall high time frame is bullish. You know, if we look at the daily chart, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, equal high, equal low. So overall we're still pushing to the top side. So shorts are not guaranteed over here. We could just break through this and continue higher. You could see resistance, resistance, resistance turn into support, 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 boom, off to the top side. Now again, I don't trade support resistance, but it doesn't mean that I don't look at it or take it into account. And again, this break was quite a weak break, but not to say this supply zone is still a strong area of supply. It's got imbalance, it's got volume, it's had a strong push to the downside. Now in order to have any kind of trade here, you can see internally we currently have this push, and if we come to the 50% and then we kind of reject here, we could see at least a potential trade back down into an area of demand here that's unmitigated. We have some equal lows here, so we do have some liquidity resting here. So we could see that happening, but again, lower time frame would need to shift. I wouldn't just off the rip take a trade from this region. Nas is just on a phenomenal shift, tear to the top side. Now, you know, currently there's just no trade in this pair. It's just, we've had no pullbacks, no anything. I was originally looking for a trade here last week in this area of demand. So we had this demand here. Price came down into this, and then you could see we bounced off of it nicely. We shifted above, supply failed, we pulled back, I just missed it. You know, I wasn't on the charts or looking at that pair. We had this demand, we had this demand. Price closed above that 50%, and that's where the trade would have been. So again, missed that. As it stands, there's not much to be trading in this. We are in a daily area of supply. Now, it's not the cleanest supply, you know, it is a daily swing structure. Over here we created a low, then we created a high, then we created a low. So after this daily break, we can expect some sort of a retracement, but when is that going to happen? Is that going to happen? We're not going to sit there second guessing that. It's going to wait for structure to tell us what it's doing. You can see pretty extended inflation figures coming in lower than expected is always good for indices, because people then start to have spare capital. When you have spare capital, where do people start investing? In the stock market, in crypto, in like risk on assets. So we could definitely, that's why we're seeing this big push, and especially with Nasdaq, with the whole AI, big boom in AI, that's having a significant impact, because Nasdaq is pretty much made up of tech companies. So not really keen on shorting this or buying this at this area of daily supply. Now, if price was to break above this, what do we have? You know, we have further supply above, but the likelihood of price continuing higher here is probably valid. So again, similar thing here where I missed out here. I would wait for price to get back into like an unmitigated area of demand, which is down at these lows. If we get pushed back here, lower time frame shift, could look to start buying this up. US 30 is pretty similar. You know, we've shifted bullish. We are in this area of supply, kind of hovering around this. But again, pretty ugly price action. Not really interested in this until we see any kind of shift. Remember guys, any pairs you want me to have a look at, feel free to drop them in the chat. Anything anyone else is looking at specifically? Any pairs on the cards? Gold, yeah, gold's alright. Took a little, so I took some off here. I've taken some off here. So I'm just trimming my position just to secure profits, because again, like I said, it's still an aggressive entry. Because I'm taking it from this area of supply. So what I want to do is just secure some, especially when lower time frame has not shifted. So if price does reverse on me, then I've given back some profits, but I still walk away with some profit. You know, so it's super important to manage risk and understand when to take, when to hold, when to leave things going. Hey Dax, hope you're well. You ain't the Dax. You know Dax is single by any chance? Are you the rapper? USD ZAR. Not pairs I really look at, but I'll take a look at for you, no problem. USD ZAR. Let's have a look at this. USD ZAR. So we can see we had a nice weekly breaker structure to the top side here. So we had a weekly breaker structure. Within this we have a daily trend, which you can see here. Higher high, higher low. We had this push up, pull back. We did this. Who knows, got to keep that backup revenue stream going. Indeed, indeed. Right, so we can see we're coming into a nice area of demand here. This is a weekly demand. Pretty much aligns nicely with the daily. So we have daily area of demand here. So we have demand here. So what I'm probably looking at is price could use this area of demand and react from this as a pullback into this supply zone to continue pushing down into demand that sits in an area of discount, because this price action here is just sideways consolidation. So when you're looking at swing structure, you had this high, you had a pullback, you had this high, so the pullback region is over here. So we could see this area of demand is demand, and it's an area of so-called resistance turning into support, but we are due a pullback. Especially, you know, we've had a weekly breaker structure, so what can we expect? We can expect a weekly pullback, but before a weekly pullback we've had a daily breaker structure here. So if we look at that, what can we expect? After a daily breaker structure we can have a daily pullback. So I would see this as an area of liquidity over here, this low here. Probably get buyers involved here to fill out this inefficiency and then eventually sell off. So if you're looking at like intraday kind of trading, I wouldn't really say there's any buy opportunities yet. Longer term, like I said, I think we could head down towards 17.4, but on an intraday we could see a reaction off of this demand zone that sits here. So what I would say is, you know, you've got this push to the downside, so even if you're looking to buy, you'd want to see a break above this supply and a pullback to continue buying this up, probably to like 19.5. It's a nice round psychological level, and that area, if we then go on to the daily, sits nicely in that area of supply, which could be the next area where price ends up selling off from. So right now there's no buys or sells because price is pretty much approaching this area of demand, and you can see we have this area of imbalance and we have this demand zone sitting in here. So, and on a 15-minute, you know, we're creating we have some structure here. We had a lower low, lower high, we have a lower low. So ideally wait for a shift on a 15-minute to start buying this. But if you do buy this, like I said, I would only buy up to like 19.5, 19.6, because higher time frame, the deeper pullback on the daily is down within this region where we have that area of imbalance. Which again, if I just mark this out a bit more accurately on a daily, there's that area of demand that's unmitigated. So hopefully that makes sense. Gold is nice, gold is nice. If I wasn't in gold, I would be probably tempted to take a trade here, but I would want to see this 5-minute structure, you know, this 5-minute demand fail here. At least see a failure of this with some nice selling pressure and then a pullback. No worries, you're more than welcome. Yeah, for me, it's just I don't have a. I think it comes under. I'm sure it comes under exotic pairs. That's the only thing I don't really ever look at. But I trade any pair. You know, you'll see on the charts. I trade absolutely any major, minor pair, indices, commodities. There's nothing specific that I look at and be like, oh, I'm not trading this, or I am trading this, or vice versa. I'm pretty open to trading anything. Come on, gold, get down, let me close 70% of my trade. This is why patience is key. Very could easily just be like, oh, we're failing to break above, take a trade here, but price is still reacting off of this. You know, it could quite easily just start pushing off from here to the top side. Being patient, super important, especially when you're trading and you understand that the lower time frame has not shifted. Thanks, Anko, thank you. Yeah, nice trade. Secured profits, even though I've not moved my stops to break even. Still a risk-free trade. And like I said, majority of my position will be closed here at this point. I'm already in profit, so even if price did reverse from here, I'll give back some profits, but I'll still walk away with something. But over here, I'll take majority of the risk off the table. Because again, internally we are still bullish. So price could quite easily do this if it wanted to. AUD USD is good, guys. Like anyone that's probably keen on taking a trade here. I'm in gold, so I'm pretty okay. But if we kind of get a nice closure below, like you'd probably have something like this, you'd definitely want to be pretty tight on your stop loss, and then probably somewhere down here with a target taking some partials off the table at this area of demand. Which is like 20 pips, and then expect a reaction from here, and probably something like this could happen again because it's in high time frame area of supply. But wait for yeah, that seems pretty decent, to be fair. Alright, be right back, guys. Sorry about that, I'm back. Right, I think I'm probably going to be off. I will definitely be back on at FOMC. Again, remember, we have PPI. So for me, for my gold trade, regardless of... oh, come on. Of what happens during PPI, I'm just going to let my trade run. Like I said, I've secured profits anyway on this. You know, I have a pretty tight stop loss of like 14 pips. So it's all good. Pretty happy with that. And even if we take a look at, let's look at AUD USD and see what price did during the last PPI. So it was 11th of May, I believe. So 11th of May. Let's look at this. 11th of May. Was it 11th or was it the 10th? Yeah, so 11th of May. Yeah, so PPI was here. So again, less than impressive numbers, but AU dropped. You know, so we could probably expect the same thing. If we hit forecast, we could see AU drop. And where is AU sitting right now? It's sitting in an area of supply, which is not a coincidence. You know, a nice logical area to cause price to push down. So wouldn't be surprised that price continues pushing down from here when news comes out. But again, just be mindful. I will be back tonight. Again, it'll be like FOMC is 7:30 is the actual press conference, but the actual federal fund rate comes out at 7 p.m. So I'll probably be on around then, 7 p.m. UK time, and have a look at what's going on and take it from there. So listen, have a good one, trade safe, stick to your plan, and I'll catch up with you guys soon. Take care.